Hey everyone, Tyler here at The Movie Beat. Welcome back to another video. I want to invite everyone out there to join me in a new limited series of videos I'm going to be putting out inspired by the month of October and Halloween. I want to give you guys my thoughts on some underrated K-horror, Korean horror films to check out that I don't think get too much attention. You may have heard of them, but anyways, I want to give you guys my thoughts and maybe some watch recommendations for this month. If you do not like horror films, I highly suggest skipping this video, as maybe some of the images I'm going to show might give you nightmares, may be disturbing. So just a little warning there. The first in this series, I'm going to be talking about a very dark reimagining of the classic fairy tale Cinderella, 2006 Korean film. This one is probably the most deranged and disturbing takes on the Cinderella story I've ever seen. This is a very curious mix of classic ghost story with your family drama. As with a lot of Korean films, I do think they really bring in that drama side pretty hard, and this one does surprise on that front. Much like this year's Beauty Water, the animated horror film, I do have a review for it. I'll put a link in the description box. Cinderella does shock with a lot of plastic and surgery inspired freakouts that include facial cutting and other body disfigurement. They go in tandem with a lot of classic horror elements. So for me, I don't get freaked out by ghosts or anything like that. I can watch horror movies all day, but if I watch any like surgery videos, that's the kind of stuff that makes me squeamish. So this one, like Beauty Water, except this one is not animated, does kind of make me clench up a bit. So this one is a real dark tale that contrasts beauty with disfigurement and possession with letting go. I don't think this movie was very well received when it first came out back in 2006. Partly, I think, because of the upsetting subject matter, but there was some definite fatigue, I feel, that was setting in because there was an overabundance of similarly marketed horror films and slashers at the time that featured, teenage girls, schoolgirls, and things like that. But looking back, I do feel like Cinderella is one of those rare high-production horror films that feels to have been given the freedom to really run with a lot of its original story ideas and really go all out with its dual front approach to terror and drama. So let's get into the story here. Hyun-soo, played by Shin Se-kyung, is a bubbly teenage girl who has just begun her summer vacation. She lives happily with her mother, Yoon-hee, played by Do Ji-won, who is an independently wealthy plastic surgeon. Hyun-soo excluded, all of her friends are interested in plastic surgery and are eager to enhance their beauty. Two of her friends, Haewon, played by Jeon Seo-min, and Jae-hee, played by Ahn Ah-yung, have previously undergone plastic surgery from her mother. One day, Hyun-soo's best friend Soo-kyung, played by Yoo Da-in, decides to undergo a facial surgery from her mother. Afterwards, Soo-kyung's newfound confidence gives her the courage to model during a sculpting class at Hyun-soo's private art academy. But when she suddenly hallucinates being slashed in her face, Soo-kyung begins to regret the operation and goes into a depression. Before long, Soo-kyung is found dead in her room with her face half torn off. Fear and confusion strike the girls, who begin to become tormented with horrific visions and wind up dead, one after the next. When Hyun-soo begins to suspect her mother is hiding something, she reaches out to her estranged father to help answer a haunting mystery surrounding her past. But unlocking the door to her mother's secret opens up a horrific trauma that begins a destructive, psychological unraveling that she may never recover from. So even though I rightfully predicted the ending to Cinderella almost halfway through, I do feel like this movie does do a really great job of bending a lot of the scenes to reflect the warped psychological perspectives of its character that really helped me to stay guessing. I was second guessing myself the whole way through. I was like, I was right. Oh, maybe not. No, maybe. So it was kind of really nice that way. Even though I was right. So it made the journey still fun. And something as simple as a camera pan to the left to show a character entering the room through a door could signal a sudden shift in time that was really effective in showing some creative flashbacks that made for some really frightening revelations for the present. And as with a lot of Korean horror, Asian horror in general, the cast is very female dominated in Cinderella, And I don't know what exactly it is with that, but I'm sure it has something to do with the fragility and things like that, the screams and all that that come with these kind of stories. But actress Do Ji-won, I think, is perfectly cast as Hyun-soo's mother in this movie. Her role just slowly and subtly has this creep factor that ever so slightly builds towards that evil stepmother role. And just from the beginning, something you notice does not seem right about this character. And it was pretty awesome because she really helps to brew all of this uncertainty in the movie as you're trying to kind of formulate in your mind, where is this going? And you really don't have any idea until her motives are ever so slightly revealed. The actress Shin Se-kyung, who you might have seen in Tacha, the Hidden Card, she's the Cinderella of this story, and she's really great from start to finish, but I do feel like she really puts all of her talents on display towards the finale of this one, as I just could really feel the agony on her face as it's literally about to be cut from her or removed. Her friends who would play that stepsister's role also provide a lot of energy in this movie and do spill a majority of the film's blood, so that's kind of something cool, I guess. There isn't a Prince Charming per se in this iteration of Cinderella, but the character of Hyun-soo's father does sort of offer that glass slipper per se. Hyun-soo defies her mother and goes to meet her estranged father in the place that he works. He's like a composer, a music director, so you get that feeling that I guess is at the ball. I don't know, but she is given an answer to a lifelong mystery that does sort of set her free in a sense. But this newfound freedom that Hyun-soo finds herself in is a very, very dangerous world, as she's always really been under the protective grasp, you could say the clutches of her mother, that stepmother. So she doesn't really have the strength in her wings to fly to safety, and she's in bad shape. And there is a love story in this, and it's really a tragic one between mother and child. And that breakdown between the mother-daughter relationship in this one was pretty surprising for me. And I do think in traditional or classic Korean film form, the weight of the drama does hit surprisingly hard. I feel like this film, Cinderella, was made in a very interesting time, an experimental time for Korean horror film. If you do watch a lot of horror films from the past, just American horror, for example, really came with more enjoyment factor as they put a lot of creativity into the death scenes. That was kind of the sell factor. You would go and it would be kind of funny tone, and you're wondering how they're gonna die, and you would judge the movie if it was good or not based on the creativity of the death scenes. Something like Final Destination, Saw, etc. There is a lot of death by numbers in the Korean horror films of this time, but I do feel like many of the stories do favor taking that deep dive into more the dark recesses of the mind to explore how insecurities or traumas, stuff like loneliness or even bullying or other unfavorable experiences really do shape our realities. There are the sort of common Asian horror features in Cinderella, like excess amounts of hair or slow crawling across the floor, hands coming out of random places to grab unsuspecting necks or ankles, things like that. Those are pretty much the jump scares, but this movie Cinderella does, I feel, stand out from the pack in its own right, because I got this feeling this was like this epic campfire-esque story that you could tell someone. Almost back in the day, we would read from that book, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This one feels like a novel form of that. And I, for one, do not judge my horror movies based on realism, so I loved how this was really in its own sort of world. I guess looking at it as a Westerner, you might think of just how casual these girls are getting plastic surgery and things like that. And it is kind of shocking, but in Korea, as you guys might know, this is the #1 per capita of the world of plastic surgery, and stuff like double eyelid surgery and things like that is comparable to like getting your braces in America. Maybe not as much, but it's almost not even considered a surgery. So it is kind of shocking that way, and I do feel like it does go into that level of insecurity, comparison culture, a lot of the things that you guys might see if you do explore a lot of Korean cinema and get that sense of the culture a little bit. So I did like its tackle on that subject a little bit. Of course, it doesn't offer any solutions, but it is exploring a very interesting problem. So this movie, Cinderella, I do feel like is very underrated, and I'm happy to share it as my #1 in my limited series underrated horror, Korean horror films. So I'm going to rate this one a 7 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think of this movie Cinderella in the comments below if you've seen it. I would like to share with you my awesome DVD edition real quick. So here's my special edition DVD of Cinderella, and I love this package. I would really like this movie in an upgraded Blu-ray. I would definitely buy it, but very happy. This DVD actually still looks great on my system today. So some of them look a little bit more fuzzy than others, but this one looks really nice, and I love the package. So as you can see, they got that like mirror thing here, and we've got the stepmother sort of carving away at the face, pretty freaky. The back with the bloody birthday cake, so awesome. And then this is my favorite part. So this one is kind of weird. It comes out the top, but okay, so you get a good look. You get a good look at the cover there. I want you to see the back there. So we've got the stepmother and Hyun-soo. As you can see, the stepmother in this movie, she tries to like dress Hyun-soo up as her doll, and she really is very possessive and protective of her, almost really wants her to stay a little girl forever. You can see on the bottom there's that ghost crawling towards them, so you'll find out who that is in the movie when you watch it. Inside, got a cool little tiny booklet. Nothing like the books that we see today, but anything like this in an older DVD is more than welcome. Opens up as like a leaflet here, some scene information on the back, and finally, the kicker of this release, once you pull it out, look at that on the inside. That when I pulled the DVD out, when I first bought this, I was like, yes, that is awesome. That's going to be it for this one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, I'm Tyler at The Movie Beat. Keep watching movies.